All right, good afternoon, everyone. I certainly hope and pray that all is well. All right. So I'm just going to talk for a few minutes. All right. When I was, let me play this in the background. When I was a student at Howard, I did my first year of college here. I went to community college, my first year. I graduated from high school in 1989, but I was supposed to graduate in 1990, but I graduated in 1989. I started school a year early. I think I talked a little bit about that. I'm pretty sure I did. Okay. And then I went to Howard. My first year at Howard, when I went in as a student, because you had to choose your major before you started. Okay, didn't mean you had to keep it, but you chose a major before you started. Because, we had our orientation week and freshmen were there before, and first year students, because I technically wasn't a freshman, I was a first year student. We had our orientation, went to the schools that we were, where our major was represented. My initial major, when I was a student at Howard University, was international business. Okay. This was in 1990. How old was I in 1990? 18. I was 18 years old. I graduated from high school a year ahead. I graduated when I was 17, so I was 19 years old. 18 years old when, because I started college, community college, when I was 17, and went to Howard when I was 18. My major was, once again, was international business. So my first week there for orientation week, I did my orientation in the School of Business, top of the hill, right behind a few buildings down from the administration building, right on the main campus, of course, what we call the yard. I changed my major before classes started. I changed my major to film production and theater arts because my heart was really into that world. I wanted to be a movie star. Okay, two things. I wanted to be a movie star and an activist. Not knowing I was already a star. So I went and I majored in film production and I minored in theater arts. And I majored in film production because this was the time. I hope you all can hear me okay because I got this right by the, what is this called? The air conditioner. I'll turn it on low. Um, yeah, but anyway. So I was able to talk to whoever I was needed to talk to, and my major was changed before classes started. Oh, this was during the time with Spike Lee, was big, and though I wanted to be in front of the camera, I looked to him as an example of he wrote, produced, directed, and he starred in his movies. So I said, well, instead of majoring in theater, I'll minor in theater which was good, because in the School of Communications, when you were a major in the School of Communications, which was at the bottom of the hill, you had to, far away from the yard, you had to have a minor, and that worked out perfectly for me. I said, well, I'll minor in theater. Um, Mainly because growing up, when people ask me what I want to do, and I would tell them I want to be an actress, you know how people are. Well, you ain't gonna make no money in that. That ain't no real career. Yeah, but they worship these celebrities and actors and actresses and whatnot. Okay, but it is a very competitive field, but probably more so then than it is now. There's just so many avenues for the world of acting, and right now you got all these streaming apps, you got the internet. Back then it was just ABC, NBC, CBS, then Fox came along, and Hollywood. I took acting classes at the Cleveland Playhouse. Well, now it's located downtown, in the same area as Playhouse Square. But back then it wasn't. It was on Carnegie. It was a big, beautiful building. And the lady who raised me, she signed me up for classes there. And I started taking classes there probably, I think I might have been like 6 or 7 years old. She really did what she could, okay, to help me pursue my dreams while having me in a bottle in the basement, probably. But anyway, so it was just, I felt like, well, the people were so discouraging about, folks discouraging about every goddamn thing. Okay, people were discouraging to me a lot, but she, lady who raised me, she would say, no, you can do this. There were times though, she was discouraging about some things, okay? But when I was younger, she was, at least from what I can remember, she was very open and helped me to pursue the things that I wanted to do. So I thank her for that. Okay, I had a love for beauty, like that 1980s beauty. I had my room, my uncle, which was her brother, he owned a beauty salon here. It was called Akia Beauty Salon. He was pretty well known. Okay, a lot of people knew Mr. James. Okay, and this is when people were really getting their hair done. When black women had no problem keeping their edges. Okay, and so he was very well known, and I was, got my hair done every 2 weeks. That's how it was back then. Get your hair done every 2 weeks. You put oil in that scalp every other night. You rolled your hair up at night. You know what I'm saying? That's the era I grew up in. But I was there a lot, so he would give me, like, let me take some of the old magazines, and then I would get old magazines. I talked about it the other night. I loved Essence magazine, but I would cut out the pictures of all these beautiful black models. Okay, beautiful hairstyles. Now, I was really into Vogue magazine. Oh my God. Listen, I loved Vogue magazine. I loved it so much that one year for Christmas, that was what the lady who raised me, she gave me a gift, a subscription to Vogue, a year subscription to Vogue magazine. So the white models, I would take them, I would cut the pictures out. Now the black models, what I would do is I had my entire room was plastered with pictures of black models all over the room, all the way to the ceiling. I had my whole fucking room. I would take the white models, I wouldn't put them on the wall, but I had a notebook, a binder, a red binder, and I would put them in there. Okay. All right. But anyway, that 80s glamour with the what do you call them, the shoulder pads, and it was just really stylish back then. Okay, and I was all in it. Okay, I loved fashion. I loved makeup. I loved beauty. I loved all of that. And lady who raised me, she was so interesting because that wasn't her background at all. You know what I'm saying? But she and then I grew up in the church, Pentecostal, Church of God in Christ. So, well, that's the church I grew up in until I was 11. It was my great grandfather's church. Then I started going to church with my grandmother, and it wasn't Kojic, but her church, the people were much more stylish, okay? Well, then the little church I was at, now I ain't saying Kojic altogether. You go to the national convention, the international convention, man, please. The styles was, whew, the big hats and just a big fashion show. But anyway, so because she saw my interest, she was the kind of woman who felt that, you have children, you pay attention to them, what they like. This is things that she taught me. You pay attention to who they are, to what they like, and that's what you cultivate in them. So she saw that I had an interest in that. So she, growing up Pentecostal, and then she sent me to these Christian schools where we couldn't wear pants. We had to wear dresses or skirts. But she saw that I was really into fashion. I was really into makeup, and they were very strict. No makeup, none of that kind of thing. But she allowed me to explore at the back then the appropriate age. Back then we couldn't. The only girls that was wearing makeup like that when I was a teenager was white girls. Okay, they had a full face by the time we in the 7th, 8th grade. You understand? And I went to school with a lot of white people. The schools that I went to was majority white. Black girls, most we did was, put some clear lip gloss on. Clear. Goddamn. You know what I'm saying? Till we reach a certain age, maybe like 16. Now you can wear a little bit of color, okay? But not red. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, but she allowed me to really explore that aspect of myself and not just, oh, that's the devil, you can't do this. She was not like that. She was more open-minded than that. And so one year, I took some classes at Barbizon. Okay, learned how to put makeup on. I was so into the shit, man, and the Vogue, and they would talk about how to wear makeup. And now back then, people weren't wearing makeup like you see them wearing it now. Okay, coming from the theater, when I began to watch videos and see the women how they would take the makeup on, I was like, well, that's for the stage. You know, that's literally stage makeup. Why? So you can see the person, you know, from a distance, you know, and really see, you know, detailed. Okay, but that's how it is now. I'm not putting it down. That's how it is now. Back then, it was more of a everyday street look, which was a natural look. You know, foundation, a little concealer, you know, and then your blush, your lipstick, your eyeliner, mascara. That's the end of that. You know what I'm saying? For everyday wear, you know, things like lashes and all the extra stuff was like for glam night, you know, going to parties and like the weaves and wigs. And well, I can't say a lot of people wore wigs, but not like young people, and definitely not like it is now. That was more so a thing that you did, you know, if you were going out on a town, going to a party, going to some special event. Okay, you found back then it seemed as though more older women, you know, would wear wigs. Okay, not putting it down, we're talking about a different time period. But anyway, so that was what I was really into. She even took me. There was one of the top modeling agencies. I can't remember which one it was. It used to have. They used to have an office here in Cleveland. They used to have be a representative here in Cleveland. And she took me, and every time I would go, they would always tell me, you know, you're just too short. You know what I'm saying? I always walk with just felt my head held down. You know, oh, you're just too short. You know what I'm saying? I was short. But one year I was in a pageant, a beauty pageant. How old? I think I was 17. I think it was my first year in college. I don't have any of those pictures now. One of the girls that was the lady who raised me, her niece, she has, I don't know, she probably threw them pictures away, but she had the pictures. I let her see them. She took them to school, and I just never got them back. She said some boy took some of the pictures. I never got those pictures back from the pageant that I was in. And I don't even remember. I got in the pageant, I believe, through Barbizon. I can't remember. Okay, but anyway. So my major was international business because I had somewhat of an interest in that, but I had a stronger and a greater interest in the field of theater and you know, acting and all of that. So that's what I pursued. Even though, you know, people were putting it down, I said, well, I'll work behind the scenes and the front of the scenes. And like I said, I used Spike Lee as watching him. I was like, that's what he did. That's what I can do. Then when I went to seminary, I had a double major. I majored in, I went in with a major in Christian education and pastoral care and counseling. That would have made me, that would have taken me to 4 years. If I just had one major, only 3 years. The beginning of my third, so I took classes in both. The beginning of my third year, I said, you know, I really don't want to do an extra year. I really want to be done with this. So I changed it from a double major to just one. Now, why am I saying this? These people with this destiny swapping and trying to take your energy and trying to be you and take your story and steal your story. This young woman that I had in my life, unfortunately, that Briandra Bellamy over there wants to call her Earth Angel. I look up, this girl is going, or when, I think she graduated, I don't know, Cleveland State with a major in international business. I said, well, goddamn. I was around this girl for years. International business and some double major, something or other, and MBA. I went to Cleveland State for a semester. and I was studying MBA program. I only did it for one semester. Okay, um, executive MBA. That's what it was called, an executive MBA program. But anyone who doubts me and all that kind of stuff, that bitch over there talking about I'm lying and all that country ass shit out of her Bama ass mouth, you can look it up yourself. What year was that? That was 2015. 2015. I did it for one semester. At one point, I really wasn't feeling it. Okay, I did very surprisingly. I did well because most of the people that were there, it was a very small group of us. It was a very type of elite type of thing. I even put a picture up of just we took a picture together, and there's a picture of I put it on my community tab at one point, but I just cropped out everyone, just showed my face. Most of the people in that program already had a business background. I didn't have a business background. We had to be interviewed the whole nine, okay? And the lady who was over the program felt that I had sufficient enough uh, work experience and life experience, so on and so forth, to be in the program. It wasn't hard, at least I only did, like I said, the one semester. It wasn't hard. Uh, but there were some things very racist, very ageist, okay? And I just didn't want to continue on. Sometimes I feel like I should have, but it's not one of those things that I look at like, damn, I should have, it's like, whatever. I don't feel at a loss for that. I'm saying all this to say, now, when I graduated with my master's degree, I was on the dean's list consistently. Now, let me say this. See, this is what I'm talking about, what I'm about to say. When people are so dead set on trying to be you, trying to steal your essence, then they go all over town and spread lies about you and all kind of manner of mayhem because they're jealous, deceitful, envious, hateful, mean, bitter, etc., etc. When I was in school, when I was in elementary school, they put me in the first grade when I was supposed to go into kindergarten. I talked about this before. Just bear with me for those who have seen it. And what's interesting is I found out by someone who's able to look into this shit. He said, what does your sub count say? I said, my sub count says 1,230 something. He said, no, you have like 2,000 to 3,000 more subs than what it shows. Your page is being viewed on the dark web. And I was like, I kind of figured that. Like when I stated the other day, I don't think when I come on here, my shit is shown to the general population. I feel like there are people somewhere watching my shit. And then this person confirmed it for me. Okay, like a day later. A day or two later. Anyway. So they put me in first grade according to the lady who raised me because I went to the Montessori. Me and my sibling, we went to the Montessori. He was older than me, 2.5 years older. He was in public school. It wasn't working because that's his story. I ain't gonna tell his story, but nevertheless. So she put him in private school. When she took him to the private school, you got a test in. So she said they were looking at me saying, well, she's just sitting there. You want to give her something to do? Let her take the test. I remember taking the test. And they said she is passing kindergarten. Her results past kindergarten. Would you like to put her in? Now, I really could have been, or it could have been just, let's get some money out of this woman. But I went to the Montessori. Okay, you know the reputation that the Montessori has. So I was ready at that point to go to the first grade. The challenges came from me. I was always challenged in school, but the real challenges came for me probably around, I think, the fourth grade. Okay, I really wasn't doing well in school. I was doing well. Certain subjects. hold on, please. Certain subjects. Okay, I did excellent in spelling. Um, I can't remember. I know I did very well with that, but my grades were not good at all. Okay, a lot of times I'd be sitting there. I remember being in school quite a bit of time, looking, thinking, like it was just like all gobbledygook to me. Like, what the fuck are they talking? You know what I'm saying? That was the spirit of it. What the fuck are they talking about? Okay, and oh, Bible, because I went to Christian schools. So we had to learn Bible verse, we all that. Okay, I did, and memorization. That's why I did well in spelling, memorization. I was excellent at memorization. My great grandfather I talked about was one of the founders of the Church of God in Christ. He had a photographic memory. Okay, that they say that he was able to just if he read, a page of the scripture like once, all you do is read it once. He could quote it word for word after without looking at it. Okay, so it's probably maybe just something passed down. I can't do that, but I was really good at memorization. My daughter's excellent with that as well. But anyway, um, so the lady who raised me told me years later, I was well into my adult age. I had my daughter and everything, that she wanted them to hold me back in the fourth grade, the school, but she said that they wouldn't do it. They said that has done well enough that she can keep going on. Okay, so I did. I didn't know that. Like I said, she told me when I was an adult. Okay, by the time I was in, was it the eighth grade? Okay, because the school that I went to was called Cedar Hill Cedar Hill Baptist School. No, Cedar Hill Christian School or Cedar Hill Baptist School. I can't remember. The church is still there. The school is closed down. Okay, it was on. Um, is that Fairhill? Yeah, Fairhill. And in Cleveland Heights. Okay. But by the time, so that it was like five churches. Five churches came together. Each church had their own school. By the time, and when it got to the seventh grade, they combined seventh through the 12th grade, and the school was called Baptist Christian School. Cedar Hill Christian Church was one of the churches. Okay, or Cedar Hill Baptist Church. Okay, one of the churches that was a part of that. That's where we went. And by the time I went, in seventh grade, I go to this school called Baptist Christian. Okay, by the time I think I was in the eighth grade, I remember I had to take an English class that I can't remember what it was called, but it was for students who did not do well in English. I had a teacher, okay, he was from his ethnic background was, he was Filipino. He wasn't from the Philippines, he was from here, but that was his family was. Excellent teacher. The way he taught, he broke things down in such a way where he just made it make perfect sense. Okay, just made it make sense, common sense. Don't think of it as, you're being taught something academically and you're on the edge of your seat. No, just common sense. He taught it so well that I began to excel in English to where by the time I was a senior in high school, I was in honors English. Okay, that's how well he taught it. So come to find, so the maths, when I was taking the maths, I was really like, I really don't know what the hell going on. Okay, I really did not know what the hell was going on. I remember geometry, looking at the book like, what the fuck? It's just like a fucking foreign language, okay? So my junior year of high school, well, my sophomore year, going into my sophomore year, there was a school here, there's a private school here. Back then it was really, really elite. It was in Shaker Heights, a very wealthy area of Shaker Heights. The school called Hathaway Brown All Girls School. Very expensive. Back then, I don't believe they had all these scholarships and the vouchers and all that shit they have nowadays. If you ain't got the money, you just ain't got the money. Okay, I wanted to go there really bad. I actually ended up going there for summer school one year for math. Math. So, because I had failed math, so I had to take math for the summer. So that year, we tried to test me into Hathaway Brown going in my sophomore year, and I think another school too, but I didn't do well enough to be accepted into those schools. So the next year, we tried Catholic school, and I went to a school called Villa Angela Academy. Now this school is merged with our brother school called St. Joseph's Academy. So now it's called Villa Angela St. Joe's. But back then they were separate. I talked about this school back then. It was a school without walls, okay, which was one of the few schools in the country that was. It was some kind of experiment they were doing or whatever. Okay, it was really fun. I loved it there. But I went there my junior year. Now she was really concerned because she didn't think that they were going to accept me because usually most Catholic schools back then, now it's a whole different day, okay? But back then, by your junior year, they're not accepting any new people because they have a track, that starts all the way from elementary school, probably school, but elementary school on, okay? But we tried it, they tested me, and they accepted me, okay? They accepted me, but they would not allow me to take any of the maths or sciences because I didn't do well in the maths or sciences, okay, at the other schools. And they were like, she's not going, like, I never took chemistry, never a day in my life, okay. My daughter, she knows that shit in and out. She does so well. And I used to think to myself when she was growing up, Lord, I hope she don't need me to help her with math when she get to high school and chemistry and science, because goddamn, I ain't gonna be able to help her. Okay, that girl knows that shit in and out. I'm just amazed, watching her do it. It's like nothing to her. And we were talking the other day. She was like telling me I love math. I used to watch her just do them formulas and stuff like boom, boom. Like I was just in awe. Like her science teacher was like, she really needs to be an honors, scientist, but she didn't want to be in a. That's a whole other story. But anyway, I think her dad, it probably does well in those top subjects, okay? Or she just knows the shit. Okay, but anyway. So they accepted me. They said we will accept her, but she has to take business courses. That shit was easy. ABC 1, 2, 3. Okay. So it was so easy for me, and I had history and other typical, just didn't have maths and sciences. And like secretarial classes, this is the 80s. So, all girls school, they were preparing girls for things like that. They were really preparing girls for not necessarily college unless they were studying those classes, college prep classes. Okay, but preparing them for college prep, also preparing them like if you just want to just get a job, after high school and get out there into the workforce. Typing, filing, things of that nature. Accounting, things like that. So, I was able to make it through those classes. Okay. So I go to my first year in college. I went to Tri-C. I went to Cuyahoga Community College. And I was taking college, the college class, the history, and I had to take math, but I had to take algebra. I had to take like a remedial algebra because I didn't have it from high school. I didn't do well in high school. Well, here we go. Same thing as the English teacher. I had a teacher. I don't remember her name. I remember what she looks like. The way she taught the class, like with the formulas, she didn't skip any steps, and she made it make sense. Okay. I began to love math, and I got to the point where I was helping other students, tutoring other students in the class because, she made it make sense. I see it now, where before I didn't see it. I didn't understand it, okay? And I was helping others, okay? And I skated through that class, okay? Well, when I went to the seminary, one of my majors, I had a double major, one of my majors was Christian education, but education nonetheless. I had a class with a husband-wife couple. I think I mentioned this before. And they were talking about education, and they were breaking down the various ways of learning. And they were saying how in the school system, they only teach one way. But there are different ways to teach because there's different ways that people learn. Some people are visual, some people have to touch, various things, okay, but they only teach it one way, and they've been doing it forever, and they haven't made any changes, okay, and it's proven that it may not be the best method, but this is the method that they stick to in our educational system. And when I listened to them, I said, I got it, because I used to play instruments, and I played a flute, I had a flute, and I would play the flute in church. And there was a lady, she played the trumpet. I would sit next to her. We sat on the front pew, and I asked them if some kind of way they could write the music out for me. Okay, and they kind of laughed and were like, "Girl, just play it by ear." Well, I couldn't understand that. I didn't understand the concept of playing it by ear. I was like, I can't play that shit. I don't get it. I have to see it. So one of them, she was able to write the notes out for me, but she said, the music be so loud in church, goddamn. Okay, back then, it's just like, just play, and you listen to what you're playing, and listen to what's being played, and you will pick it up, which did happen to me. Not there, but I played in the orchestra of the National Church one year, and I was able to do it. Um, I was shocked. Okay, but that's a whole nother story. So I'm just talking about different ways that people learn. And I listened to them in my class, and I said, I see what part of the issue was with me. I thought, well, I just ain't smart. I ain't as smart as such. And man, that lady raised me. She didn't like hearing that shit at all. There was this white girl. Her name was Katie Bear. I knew that girl all the way from the fourth grade all the way up to 12th grade. She always made the high honor roll. Every blue moon she might make the second one, but for the most part she always made the high honor roll. And I remember saying to the lady who raised me, I think I was like in the fifth or sixth grade, well, I'm not as smart as her. That lady got pissed. Don't you ever let me hear you say that, because she was talking about our history, here in America, during slavery, how they didn't teach us, didn't want us to learn how to read, didn't want us to learn how to write, but we did learn how to read and write on our own. This language on our own. So she said, don't you ever let me hear you say, that you ain't as smart as some white person, this, that, and the other, okay? She always used things as teachable moments. All right. But anyway, so and then when I went to Howard, well, my major was film production. I didn't have to have too much math. I didn't have to have too much. I only had to have one math class. And it took me 3 times to take that math class. I took it, and I finally took it. I kept withdrawing. I finally took it the last semester of my senior year. Shit. I got to graduate. And I was sat in the class the first day thinking, I got to pass this fucking class. I have to graduate. Well, we had a student teacher. And just lo and behold, by the grace of God, she taught the same way. Shows you every detail. And here again, when she did that, I was able to escape through the class, and I was tutoring others in the class. Okay, passed the class with flying colors. Well, that's what it was. My daughter, I took her to play the piano it's called the Cleveland Music Settlement here. She was 5. You just be trying to give your children something to do, activities and shit. You know what I'm saying? Make them well-rounded individuals. Well, the piano teacher that we signed up with, she was way much more into this than we just gonna give her something to do. Okay, my daughter had to go to all kind of piano recitals. It was really, she was a part of something called the Junior Fortnightly, which was a music thing or whatever. And her very first day, and the teacher required that parents stay in the room when she taught, okay? And we had to really be there and involved. So her first day, she's 5. Well, she was 5. And my daughter back then, some children talk a lot. She talked a lot. So the first day, the teacher asked her some questions, and she just talked. And the teacher asked her if she knew how to do something, and she didn't know how. So I got really worried. And she said, no, don't worry. It's nothing for you to worry about. She said, she's not supposed to know how at her age. And I said, well, why did you ask her if she could? She said, every now and then there are some children who can do it. But the age, because she wasn't just a piano teacher. She studied childhood development. Okay, that's what she studied in college. That's what she had her degrees in. And she said that age, they're not supposed to know how to do that yet. Okay, the mind, the brain hasn't developed to that place yet. Okay, like you may notice, for those of you who have babies, okay, not toddlers but babies, if you put too many colors in their face at one time and too many shapes in their face at one time, they may cry, they may scream, they may jump back. It's too much for them to take in. at that. They're not ready to take that much in, all of them, all in different shapes and all in thousand colors on a page. It's different looking out into the world. It's not set up like that, you know. So that happened to my daughter one time, and I was wondering, and it came, and she's too young to take that in. And that book really probably shouldn't even be made for children her age, babies. Okay, but anyway, so I'm talking to the teacher, and she's not ready for it. And I said, oh, the childhood development, and it dawned on me. I said, oh, I see what happened with me. They placed me, even though they said she had surpassed this test, and at what was I, like 5 or 4 or 5, however old you are when you go to the kindergarten. She's passed this test, so she's far surpasses kindergarten. We can put her in first grade. The reality is, no, I shouldn't have been put in. Well, I don't want to say shouldn't have, but it probably would have been better to wait for me to either, the school didn't have the kindergarten, and that was the thing, they didn't have one, so it could have been a money thing for the school. It was a small private school. Okay, it would have been probably in my best interest, for me to have gone to kindergarten and then moved, because you have building blocks. All right. So I went through a lot of my life. What I do with it? Looking for my vape. Oh, there it is. I went through a lot of my life when I was younger, because my sibling, he was very, very, very smart, very intelligent. Okay, he did very well in school. Okay, and he didn't. There were times it looked like, I don't know. I just know some things. It seemed like he didn't even really try. It's like, that's my daughter. My daughter, she does the work and she just excels. I didn't try hard. I didn't study hard. I just did it. And there's some people that are like that. That's how he was. He just did it and he did well. I didn't. Okay, I didn't do well. And then I was a socialite too. Anyway, school for me was, let's go talk and hang out and have fun. I mean, I really, I love learning. But back then I was a kid. I wasn't thinking about learning. Yeah, I'm in school. I have to be in school. Yeah, I gotta learn. You know what I'm saying? But it was more so, I like the social. And even when I was in Montessori, the teacher told the lady who raised me, she's just a socialite. She just likes to talk. She likes to be social. She's out here talking to everybody. And I'm still that way to this day. Okay? But anyway, like I said about other video, I feel sorry for those who have made judgments about me without really knowing me, without taking the time to get to know me. Okay, because Miss Missy over there, you damn right, I am a cool person. I love people. You know what I'm saying? But I will stand up for myself. Okay, but anyway, because people make assumptions about the way you talk, the way you dress, the way you. I used to have people tell me when I was younger, I thought this about you. I thought you were stuck up until I got to know you. Yeah, you get to know people, talk to people. Don't sit back. And that's, like I was saying, one of the problems with social media. People look at people's pictures and draw these conclusions about them, or 10, 20 minute, hour video, and draw all kind of conclusions about it. And then they do readings on them, and sometimes them readings be wrong as fuck, because really what the people are saying in the reading is what they want it to be, not what it actually is. And I'm just not one that's stupid enough to put my whole life and all my business on social media. That's one thing that lady raised me to. I'm telling you, the woman was she gave me so much wisdom. She was just, you don't tell people, and it wasn't about social media. It was just like, you don't tell people all your fucking business. But I did. I didn't listen. I did. Anyway, so I had this sibling who's doing well in school. I wasn't doing well in school. We get the report cards. I used to hate showing people my report cards. Everybody, let me see the report card, And his got all A's and B's, and mine got maybe one A, C's, D's, and F or two. Okay, and so it was always, oh God, I'm gonna be lectured, I'm gonna be this, I'm gonna be that, It wasn't a matter of just being lazy. Some of the stuff I just didn't get it, So anyway, So, that's how people do, you know. And they may think they're helping you by berating you. You understand what I'm saying? But they're not. All right. But I had made a determination that, especially when I went to college, like, fuck that. I ain't gonna get no bad grades. You know, I'm gonna do what I gotta do. I knew how to study, because again, the main subjects that I didn't do well in were the maths and sciences. Okay, history. Okay, take notes and study the notes. Okay, it's easy. English, I had excelled because I had the teacher I was telling you about, so on and so forth. So I went to college, and see, I was one of those young people. I didn't have a choice. It wasn't about, well, I don't want to go to college. I want to go work, or I want to do this, or hair. I want to do, because at one point I wanted to do hair too, which I don't know why I want to do hair. Well, probably because I just like the whole glamour thing. I had never done any hair except rolling my own. My aunt did my hair, okay, but because she was my beautician. But anyway, so I knew how to study, and usually, I'm gonna be honest, a lot of the times in college, and it doesn't really matter what college you go to. A lot of times it's you take your note. Well, it's so different now with technology and everything. But back then, you take your notes, okay, and you pass the test. Doesn't mean that you have absorbed any of the information. You pass them goddamn tests, okay, and you get your grade, okay, and you do that for how many years, 4 years, whatever, unless you go further, like to something like medical school and things like that. And even still, there's still, I would think, some of that. All right, and you can, you go through the process to get your degree. All right, so I knew how to do that, and I was disciplined enough to do that, and not because I tried to discipline myself. That's just the household I grew up in. You don't have a choice. This is what you're gonna do. Okay, it was expected. That's what you're going to do. So that's what I did. But when I was in college, I said, well, fuck that. I'm not going to get no bad grades. No more. And when I was in my last 2 years of high school, I was, like I said, I studied business. It was the classes, rather, were very easy, and the business courses were very easy, and so for me, it was just, I did well, and even then, when I did well, people would look at the report, well, this ain't nothing but typing and filing, that type of shit. Now, Lady Raisman, she didn't do that, okay? She didn't do that. So, but this is the kind of treatment people, and a lot of times people only do what was done to them, and they think it's for the best, and it's going to help you, and all that kind of thing, okay? But it doesn't. But anyway, for me, it was like, well, I'm going to go to school. I'm going to go to college. I ain't got a choice. I'm going to go. I don't have no choice. Because at first, I didn't want to go to college. But it did make a difference. I had to go. And see, I grew up in a time period where you do what you're told. That's, all that soft parenting and all that shit. But what do they want? Please. Okay, don't matter how old you are. You're going to do what the hell you're told to do. You're going to do what is expected of you. You're going to college. Okay. Okay. But anyway, so I ain't saying every single household was like that, but okay, but I'm just saying different time period. So anyway, and please don't tell me what I should have did, because somebody did that before. Please, shut your fucking mouth. You're 20 years younger than me. You grew up in a whole different world. Okay, I'm thankful for that. Okay, for myself, because I feel like everybody needs direction and discipline and guidance. Damn sure children do. I think adults do. That's why you have rules and regulations everywhere you go. You got laws, you got street laws, you got laws on the job, so on and so forth. Okay, boundaries. Okay, organization. Okay, so please with the bullshit. Okay, but anyway, so again, I go to college, I'm like, I ain't getting no bad grades. Okay, and I put the work in. I studied, read that shit, took them goddamn notes. Okay, went to class, did the work. Okay, now when I graduated from Howard, I didn't graduate on the dean's list or anything like that, but I did well. Then when I went to oh God, I was scared as hell going to graduate school. Oh my God. Oh, I hear graduate school is tough. You know what I'm saying? I was scared as hell going to graduate school. Really did not think that I was going to do well because I heard such, it's so hard. It's so hard. You know, graduate school is so hard. It's on a whole different level than, you know, getting undergrad and blah, 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 this, that, and the other. Um, so I went in with a determination that and this was a choice. It wasn't something I had to do. This was something I chose to do. Okay, I felt called to do. So I went and I put that work in. Okay, I put the work in, I put the time in. Okay, and I had some very challenging fucking classes in graduate. I took Greek. That shit was hard than the motherfucker. And we had to do exegesis. Let me see if I can, which basically is just like a deep analysis. Critical explanation or interpretation of a text, especially a scripture. And we had to pick scripture and do an exegesis. And that wasn't easy. Okay, it wasn't easy at all, but I did it. Okay, and I did graduate with honors, not magna cum laude, but cum laude. Okay, every year I would be on the dean's list. Okay, and I was one of those people that I don't know why I would do it, but I would pile on. You know, you have to do at least 15 credits. I'd be sitting up there doing like 20 credits or something like that, 20, 21, 22 credits, something like that per semester. I don't know why I did it. I guess I was just challenging myself. Okay, and I wanted to make sure that I graduated on time. I'm saying that to say that people will take the time, all of that. There was so much more I want to say, but I'll come back another time because I got to leave soon. And all they see, and people have said this on here. I used to hear people in church say it all the time. People say it everywhere. This is what I mean by the earth is just in the loop. They will only see the outcome. And based on the outcome, they only see you with, I'm using that as an example. They only see you with the paper that the university said, okay, you did well, you passed. You understand what I'm saying? Here's your paper, here's your degree. Okay. Now, I'm not going to be one of these people that say just because you went to school that don't mean nothing. Yes, it does. If you actually did the work. If you didn't go to school and you're doing well in your job and whatnot, that means something too. What? You did the work. Okay, and so people see you with something. And maybe they feel less than. Or they don't feel that they can accomplish what you have accomplished. But they don't know the work that you put in or the effort that you put in. They don't know the challenges that you had. But they draw on all kinds of conclusions about who and what you are based off the outcome that they see. Hating you, jealous of you, envious of you, trying to set you up, wanting to ruin your life, and all of this type of shit. And they think they been Nan, and who they think they is. And all the silly things. They have no clue about who you are at heart. No clue about the work you put in. And really, it's not really a reflection of you. It is a reflection of them and how they are dealing with themselves. I had this young woman who set me up with this fool this big monstrous motherfucker who did some more of his black magic on me today. And you're probably not supposed to be. You probably been told, go sit your ass down and leave the bitch alone. But you continue on. And because of her and her jealousy, and I want to understand, I need y'all in here who have these issues. Not the people who is being done to, but the people who are doing it. Let me talk to you all for a second. What is it when A person is 10, 15, 20 years older than you, and you view them as competition. They have lived a life 10 years longer than you, 15 years longer than you, 20 years longer than you. And they've done things in those years before you were born. Or here they are 20 years old and you're 10. And here they are 30 years old, and you're 10. But yet you want to see them as some kind of competition. And you want to tear them down because of the moves that they have made in their life. But you don't know why they made those moves. You don't know anything about what is in their heart, their soul, their mind, and their body. Nothing. I don't care if you spend time with them or not. And like I said the other day on a video, and you're probably watching, and I hope that you are. You must have taken every single thing that I ever said to you about who I was and had a whole notebook on me, on Nikki. And not let me understand this woman, if that's even necessary. None of that. I'm jealous of this bitch, and I'm going to take her fucking down. And I'm going to take her life, and I'm going to take her essence, and I'm going to be her, which you never will be me. You will never be anyone else but you. No one will ever be anyone else but them. And you got involved with this nut bitch, Breonna Jewel Bellamy, and you all brought this bitch here to assist you with trying to destroy me. Pathetic. But you don't know shit about me except what you determine in your small ass, pea ass, envious ass, jealous ass brain, and wrote all the shit in a notebook. And I'm gonna do and be that woman who raised me, who is your aunt. I see now what she was trying to say to me. You don't tell your business. You don't tell who you are and what you are. I told enough to that crazy ass Breonna Jewel Bellamy, and she thought she was going to take her down with her silly ass. You fucking comedy, bitch. And you probably work for some kind of government agency. You're probably some kind of government agent, low level. That's probably the reality of it. What you tried to say about me and having some connections to YouTube. It's so interesting how you can get on here and say the most foul, dirtiest, nastiest thing, and people put in complaints about you and reports about you, and nothing. Not nothing. They ain't gonna do nothing about it. They don't even respond to you. Say, we got your report. We'll check on it. But now come back and say, well, we feel like it's fine. Nothing. And the way you talk about all these government agencies and all of these government people, these important people, you're probably some low-level government agent person are being used by them. I ain't even my task. But don't work, don't do shit, but get on here and talk more shit than a little bit and sabotage everybody you fucking can or try to. You're probably some low-level government agent are being used and paid. Because ain't no way in hell that shit that you put on this motherfucker should be allowed. You violate every YouTube law there is. Every single fucking one. That ain't my tag. But you got money coming from somewhere to do dirt. She said you grew up around a lot of Masons. No, I didn't tell you that, bitch. But you said your father's a Mason and he was military, and you said that you were in the military. You didn't tell me that. Somebody else came on here one time when I was doing a live, and they put it in the comment sheet. Was she in the military? I don't know if the bitch was in the military or not. She's a fucking liar. But maybe you were actually for real in the military and using military tactics on people to take them out. That's what it sounds like. And here you go with your doggish ass. You don't have no interest in no international business. You wouldn't have known anything about that if I hadn't told you my major was international business. It's not the point of that specific thing. It's the point I'm looking, I said, this bitch is still walking along, thinking, trying to steal everything that I've ever done. You need to take that notebook that you have. What is it? What they call? I was going to say, I don't know, some kind of like COINTELPRO type shit on Divine Chosen Ones, which I am. That's you. That's you. And that's how you got your ass to the level that you got, Miss Bleeding. I said, this bitch don't have the discipline, never did, to do anything to this magnitude. Dean's List, my ass. She sold her soul. No, you sold your soul and had that little girl sell hers. It's pathetic. You got yourself ramped up and tied up. Little animal from the pit called Breonna Jewel Bellamy. To fool with your fucking ass and to fool you. As well. Confirmation. And I told you who you were. You talking about the gods and the goddesses. They don't talk to me no more. No, they don't. Because they knew the dirt that you were doing to me and to others. And I told you who you were, your light. And you laughed and you scoffed. Yeah, no, they don't talk to you anymore. I just go to the dark side. And cause pain and injury to others who've done nothing to me but show me light and love. For real, for real. I'm not talking to you, you jackleg. You get yourself involved with motherfuckers who mean you no good. It's your every waking moment, all the time. Now, where are you? Where are you? You're not even there. You're not even within anymore. Just gone. You don't have favor. Peace.